All right, I'm here with Ashley Drake, founder of The Natural Grip. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
And I had heard of you, what was it, maybe 2.5 years, 2 years ago when you were actually on Shark Tank.
Yep, that's our claim to fame. That's where a lot of people got to know about us. But we've really been in the CrossFit scene and part of the community since the late about 2013. So
Yeah, you were, now there's probably been 3 or 4 products that are CrossFit related that have come through Shark Tank, but you were,
mhm.
I think, the first, and it was like really cool. I travel on the weekends a lot, and one of the things I do is Friday night eat some donuts, watch Shark Tank in the hotel room, and I remember like, oh, it's CrossFit. So it was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, we were very, very honored to be selected. It's a very long process to get on the show, and I definitely had, one mission in mind to have a conversation with Damon John because of his connection to CrossFit and all of that. So we were happy to have the opportunity.
And you have a great product. In general, how's the product doing I mean, is it primarily a CrossFit product, or are you finding it being used in any other space, gymnastics?
Yeah, I mean, the Natural Grip was created to solve my own problem of ripping and tearing my hands while working out. And it was and still is the only hand protection on the market that's custom made to fit based off your ring finger size. So I would say we dominate the CrossFit market. I mean, that is our primary market that we are involved in, that, not only do I know and love, but all of our workers and employees do. And that's primarily where our marketing focus is. We do have gymnasts that at all levels that use our product, either just by themselves or underneath their leather grips, depending on what level they are. We have motocross riders that wear our grips under their gloves because they still rip their hands. We have elite, like extreme fishermen that wear them when they're holding their rods for hours. I don't really know much about that, but I just know we've gotten emails from them. Water skiers down in Cabo. So I mean, really anybody that needs to prevent their hands from ripping and tearing can benefit from our product. But I would say our primary market is CrossFit, and we ship worldwide daily. In the United States, but also, I mean, all over the world. And we have a lot of bulk distributors worldwide as well.
And little known fact, if you're not sure what size to get, check your shoe size.
That's true. There is a direct correlation between your shoe size and your ring finger size, which I didn't know when we started this company, but I've now since found out. So,
yeah, so luckily for me, I had figured out my ring finger size for the wedding ring. But if you're not sure and you want to order, go off your shoe size. Were you disappointed in 17.1? Maybe some people wear it for the dumbbell snatch, but I bet most don't.
Yeah, I mean, definitely this is our busiest time, the start of the season. And so we have a lot of people that are stocking up and getting ready, and we want people to buy their grips so that they can get them broken in. I would love every workout to be grip intensive, not because I want them to rip and tear their hands, but I want them to enjoy the wonderfulness that is the Natural Grip so that they can get the best score possible. 17.1 was not grippy, but that's all right. I trust in Dave Castro that 1, 2, 3, or 4 could all from this point out be grip intensive. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to see pull-ups, muscle-ups, toes to bar. There'll be plenty of opportunity to wear your Natural Grip.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, with the open, it kind of ramps up, right? So I think that we'll be good to go.
And I think that's important, for those that are newer to it, throw them on, get used to it. I know for me, even when I've gone through a couple pairs now, it's kind of like a pair of shoes. You want to break them in a little bit, make sure they fit in the right spot, and you don't want to just throw them on before 17.2, just like you wouldn't throw on a new pair of Nanos before hitting a workout.
Right, definitely. I mean, the grips are meant to last for 3 to 6 months, depending on frequency of use. But there is that break-in period, and we say that takes about a week. And we want you to be confident in them. These are not the kind of grips that you need to take off to transition between workouts. So you've got to build that confidence by using them in workouts that you're not transitioning and taking them off. So yeah, the more you can use them ahead of time, the better, for sure.
And it's great to talk about the Natural Grip, and we're crossing paths, and I didn't realize you were actually using my program for flexible eating.
Right. Yes, for sure. Well, I Instagram stalked you or your program, I guess, for a couple months, and then finally got up the nerve to tell my husband, I think we should do this, But
first of all, I saw his picture. He looks great.
Yes.
Big transformation there. And if you haven't seen, his or yours. It's on your social media, so you can find. It's not on the Natural Grip one. I think it's on your personal one.
Yeah, it's on my personal, but I can send it to you. You can put it on for the nation or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about it. Where did you start? Where are you currently, and what has your journey been like?
Well, we started late September. We're about 161 days in. Not that I'm counting or anything, but the app tells me. Yeah, I follow a lot of accounts in the social space, you know, to keep in touch with the community and kind of what's going on. And I had heard the word macro before, but of course I had dabbled in paleo for about a year. You know, I had looked into all the different programs out there, Renaissance periodization, all that kind of stuff. And we had had some success, but not long-term success. And I personally was going to have foot surgery the middle of October, and I was just really mentally kind of like upset because I knew I wasn't going to be able to be in the gym for about 3 months at a minimum. And I was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? And I thought, well, I'll still go to the gym, but I'll just focus on my upper body. And then when I told my doctor that before the surgery, he's like, no, you're not going to the gym at all. Like, that's not even an option. I'm like, okay, well, now what? So I really just, for me, I guess I was like, you know, I can't work on my body. So for once, let me focus on my nutrition and let me see if abs are really made in the kitchen. And this guy says I can get abs in the kitchen with donuts. So let's just test that out. Right. And that's really kind of, it was just, I don't know what transformation picture made me on that day think, you know, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to take this from inside my brain and out of my mouth to my husband. But for whatever reason I did. Now I wish I would have done it earlier. I wish I wouldn't have had that hesitation, you know, analysis, paralysis by analysis, right? I wish I wouldn't have had that. But I told him, I said, listen, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but this guy says we can eat whatever we want. And we decided to need to download his videos and figure it out and we'll lose weight. And he was very skeptical, you know, one, because change is scary and irritating and frustrating, but also because it was another thing, right? Another diet type of thing that I was going to put him through. But like any good husband does, he was supportive, and we got started. And I really thought, like, and what I told him was, let's just track our numbers. We eat healthy. We can't be that far off. And what we both quickly realized is what we thought we knew about protein or food, or what we like, sweet potatoes were so good. It was like, I can't eat a sweet potato. I don't have the fats for that, or I don't have the carbs for that, or whatever. So it made us start looking at things differently. He started at 220, and as of this morning, he's down to 192. I started at 153, and as of this morning, I'm down to 129. So my goal is to get to 120, not because I really care about 120, but you got to pick a goal weight. So I was 120 in high school and thought I looked pretty good, so I just picked 120 again. Justin hasn't been 185 since high school as well, and so he said go big or go home, and so that's what he picked. Now he thinks maybe 165, but he never thought 185 was even achievable, and now he's really close to it. So I'm really glad that we both have done it together, because it's, you know, there's a lot of macro conversation, but at least he knows what I mean when I say I don't have the carbs for that, or I don't have the fats for that, or well, I'm gonna save up for breakfast and lunch so we can have sushi for dinner, or something like that. So we're really living the journey together, and we're both seeing success with it. In the past, the guy always drops the weight and the girl sits in the corner like, yeah, well, nothing's happening for me. But for us, on this one time, and we've been married 11 years, this is the first time where we've been able to kind of progress together. So that's very exciting, and you know, has, I guess, made us closer, but also just improved our overall relationship with food too, I think, and how it affects us. So.
Well, you said a lot of great information there. I think one of the best things you said was it's helpful when you do it with someone else, and not just, you know, I tell people you can do this because you can eat the same. You know, people, when they are going to start a diet, they're like, oh, but my wife or my husband eats this and I can't eat. You can eat the same food. You just have to keep track. But the other beauty of it is that common language and understanding. You know, when Roz and I go out, we understand what macros mean and what type of food we want. If you know, sushi is a great example. You need to be ready to save some carbs. There she is.
Right.
So, yeah. What was it like convincing someone, but before that, what was it like convincing yourself? Because it is a pretty drastic, culture shock when you come from paleo, like both of us have, or just, clean eating in the past. So what was that like?
Yeah, I guess for me myself, it was just, I don't know. I spend so much time on social media. I want what I see on the feed, right? I want to look like all those elite athletes that I deal with on a daily basis, not because I want to be on the field necessarily, but they look good and I want to. I mean, who doesn't want to look like Stacy Tovar or Sheila Barden? I mean, they look great, and so you get that constant, visual, and I want to be that. And then you see your stuff come through of, oh, we can do that, and it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is the connection. And when you've tried everything, see, here's the deal, like, I just didn't try that stuff and just do it for a month and be like, oh, this isn't for me. I mean, I was paleo hardcore for like a year, and I really think it kind of made me a little mental, because I would feel so guilty when I stopped and got that chicken soft taco at Taco Bell. I'd almost to the point like I wouldn't even tell anybody that I ate that taco. But I just needed it for my sanity, and so that was for me. I just kind of, and then the surgery part of it was like, well, let me try this. I have nothing to lose right now. Now, convincing him, yeah, that's never really easy, but it briefs well. So I'm active duty Army, right? So in my world, does it brief well to say, okay, but listen, you can do this, and literally you can eat whatever you want as long as it hits these numbers. At first it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, no, really, you can. That's what he says. So let's just do it. And if you think it's that ridiculous, then just prove me wrong. So I kind of played to that angle of it, and it worked. And then he realized real quick that he had to kind of focus a little bit to be able to hit those numbers. And luckily, it doesn't take long to see a weight loss. We were okay with weighing in every couple of days. A lot of people they're scared of the scale, so they don't weigh in. For us, we weigh in every day or every couple of days. So we were seeing the progress steadily. And so that kept us in a good place mentally and kept the momentum going.
So when you say that, when was he finally convinced?
I think when I said, just eat like you, here, I've watched the videos, I've done your math, just eat like you normally do, and just let's see if you can hit your numbers. And then that first day, he couldn't hit his numbers. That first day he could hit the carbs and fats like everybody can, but he couldn't hit the proteins, and I think that's probably a reoccurring theme with everybody. I know it definitely was for me as well. Because of course I'd rather eat a big bowl of pasta, than than focus on getting my protein shake or whatever. So, yeah, I think that was eye-opening for him, and then it became a game for him. Then for him it was, okay, you say I can eat whatever I want. I am going to eat whatever I want, and I am going to hit these numbers. I think mentally he was like, I'm going to prove her wrong. But then while he was doing that and hitting his numbers, he was losing weight. So then it was like, okay, well, I can't really argue with this anymore. And that happened really quickly for him. He didn't lose all 20 pounds in 1 week. I don't want to paint that picture, because that's not true. We're 161 days into this. So it was really funny to me, because I wear my military uniform all day, and no one said anything to me while I was losing this weight. The day I went back to the gym, so I'm like 130 days into this, I stepped back into the gym, and all of a sudden everyone around me is like, holy shit, what happened to you? Like, where have you been and what have you been doing? And I'm like, I had surgery. And they're like, no, you've lost a lot of weight. Because I'm in workout clothes, they can see, they can see. It was the first time I had gotten a compliment. I went 130 days and no one had complimented me other than like Justin, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to know what you're doing, where you got the information, how you did it. All of a sudden you're the cool kid or whatever. Yeah. But no one cared for the first 130 days, or no one noticed for the first 130 days. So it's not an overnight thing, I guess.
And now that you've been doing it for 131 days, is it something you feel you can handle forever?
Yeah, I mean, we're at 161 days now, and I do. Yeah, now I do. I mean, I don't see why not. I guess now where I'm at is like I knew I wasn't going to struggle with the protein number, so I set it at 100. Once I started breaking the protein number, I took it to 115, and I just recalculated for 120 to match it with my goal weight. So now my mental goal is I need to get to 120 because I want to start adding macros back in. You know, I hear you and Roz talking about that, and I'm like, okay, well, get to your goal weight, Ashley. Focus, you know, get as close to zeros as you can. This week mentally, I want 2 zeros and 1 1 on every day. I don't care where the 1 falls, but that's just a game I'm playing with myself. It just keeps it fun, right? And so then I want to get to 120 so I can start adding macros back in, because it's not that I'm dying to only eat, you know, 1,300 calories a day. I'd love to eat more than that, and you say we can. So, but I'm just not that far in the process yet. And I'm sure I'll be hesitant, just like everyone is when they get to that point, because you work so hard to get there. And
you're close. You're definitely close. You know, if your weight is still moving and you're feeling good, I would say just continue with where you're at. You don't necessarily have to hit your goal weight to start adding food back in.
Right.
But I think for most people, it's a little more easy to comprehend because they're not so worried. Like, okay, I'm at my goal weight now. I don't have to at least freak out if it moves a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as a CrossFitter, I hadn't worried about what the scale had really said, right? Because I was worried about what the bar had said. But in the process, I got fatty. You know, I mean, I got fatty. So I understand the mindset of like, and I have a daughter, and I don't want her to be obsessed with what the scale says, because that's not what it's all about. But there's definitely, you can see a difference between my starting picture and my current picture, and I'm still, my lifts have gone up, and I'm still, I mean, now I can say I can do a body weight squat clean, when before I couldn't say that, you know. So that sounds even a little bit more impressive, I guess. But I plan on still gaining strength. I don't plan on turning into like a stick and, you know, becoming a marathon runner or whatever.
For sure.
You know,
for sure. And you can see it. You look more muscular. You look lean. It's going very well. And
right.
And as we were discussing before we got on, now your mother's involved.
Right. Yeah. People see people that know you, especially that are really close to you. You know, me and my husband have been married for 11 years, and Justin's never been 185. You know, he's never been skinny like this. And all of a sudden they look at you and like, what are y'all doing? You know, they see you on Skype or they come and visit and they're like, whoa, hi, you know? And so they want that. They want to have what you have, as far as, you know, everybody wants to look good naked. Right. And so, yeah, they get very interested very quickly.
So when people say that, because you're right, it's like, hey, this is what we want this. And it's very simple, like, hey, okay, just do it. What do you think is the reason people aren't doing it?
You know what? I just had a conversation with Justin about this yesterday, and I was probably a lot more animated than I am right now, but it's just their own mental bullshit. You know, I mean, I hate to cuss like that, but like, that's really, all these people want to come up to me and say, give me all the information. How did you do it? And then I start talking to them, and like one guy that I work with, for example, he's mentally, he's there and he's doing it, but he's a weightlifter. And so his thing is, well, I gotta, you know, ass moves mass. I've gotta be big to lift heavy weight, because that's what society's told him. I have to be a big weightlifter if I want to move big weight. Now, I look at him and I'm like, well, those smaller CrossFit guys are lifting more weight than you, or they're putting up higher numbers than you. So what's that? And he's like, yeah, but they were athletic before, or they're just, you know, that's just what he's told himself, or what he's been hearing, or what's been put on him. Other people, you know, they have their own like roadblocks. Well, yeah, I want that, but I still want to drink a bottle of wine a night. Or I want that, but I don't want to have to track my food, or I don't want to have to I don't want to have to pick my food based off of what macro bucket I have left to feed. And it's just like, last night I was so frustrated, because I'm like, well, then don't sit here and tell me you want what we have. Like, if you want what we have, I'm telling you this is work. I'm showing you this is work. You're the one. I'm not wearing a sign around that says, hey, talk to me about my macros. You came to me and said, you look damn good compared to what you used to. What did you do? So I'm opening the book. I'm telling you what I did. And then you want to come at me with, well, the app's $9.99. Well, I need to be heavy to be a good weightlifter. Well, I don't want to have to track my food. I don't want to be held to those parameters. Okay, fine. Well, then you don't want to do this. You know, I mean, I don't have anything for you at that point. But I want them to have what we have. I want them to feel good like we do, you know. So I try to teach, coach, and mentor on my 161 days in, right? And I try to say, well, look at it this way, or, well, you're really eating those calories anyway. Let's just recompartmentalize them into these buckets, you know, and I try to get them there. But if they're going to put their own roadblocks or excuses or whatever, or BS, then I can't do it, you know. I can only do so much, I guess, you know.
Well, I don't know what, Roz migrated over here as you were talking. I think I don't know, what did you come over here for?
To people like that, when I come across people like that, all I want to say to them is just, okay, yeah, sure. How's that working for you then? You just keep on with your life doing your shit. How's that working for you? Like, keep complaining about not having the body that you deserve or want. Like,
right,
yeah.
Right. You know, I mean, I wanted to eat all of my Ben & Jerry's ice cream like slice last night, but I had to cut it in half to get to my macro number, and I ate the other half today, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. You know, the world still spun. I got to eat my ice cream. You can have everything you know, anything you want, just not everything you want, right? You know, that's what y'all say. So that's what I tell these people, and I just don't, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're not staring a surgery in the face. Maybe they're not at their breaking point. Maybe they say they want what you have, but they're really okay with where they're at. You know, if they're okay with selling with where they're at, then at some point I'm like, I don't really know if there's anything I'm going to say that's going to make a difference. But don't come at me like, I want what you have, and then you're not willing to like do it, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, that's why, you know, Roz and I have jobs. That's why you have jobs. You know, it's all the same thing. People want the easy path.
mm-hmm.
You know, and that's
right.
And luckily for you, there's CrossFitters out there that don't. That's why they have ripped hands. And,
right, exactly.
You know,
but I mean,
people like you.
Right. But as far as flexible eating, I mean, it is the easy path, though. This is really not that difficult.
I know that you're so on board with it, but it's like, I think for some people it is a big change, right? And it's that whole thought process of, I have to log all my food in my phone. Like, I don't know. I've been in the nutrition world and so conscious of food for so long. I think like similar to you coming from that paleo background, it's like, well, this makes it easier. Now I know how much to eat. Whereas that concept of just eating well and fueling your body with the right amount of food, that is so foreign to a lot of people in itself. So people are scared of, I think, of opening those kind of doors up, I guess.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I mean, there's definitely there's a learning curve a little bit, but it's almost like I want to make a chart and say, okay, yes, you have to log what you eat, but the app automatically updates for you. And on the pro side, and on the con side, I want to say you don't have to spend, you know, $300 getting special, you know, oils or whatever to cook your paleo food. You know, I mean, we've all been there, right? You know, it's like, okay, it's like, if your child's dance recital goes late, it's okay if you have to stop at McDonald's, versus over here, the world's going to fall apart because you don't have a pre-prepared meal or something like that. You know, I mean, it's like if we made a pro or con list, I really feel like by the time you wrote it all down, that this flexible eating is more sustainable long-term, and there's a lot more pros on this side. And it's just getting people to understand that, because it's, you know, I'm not making you, like, I'm not telling you you can only eat these certain foods. I'm not putting those parameters on you. I'm not telling you here's the only 5 recipes you can cook yourself. I'm not putting those parameters on you. I'm not telling you when to eat your macros. I'm not telling you how to eat your macros. I'm not telling you, it's like, I just want to ramble off all these things I'm not telling you to do, and you're coming to me with some crazy stuff. It's like, I don't know what I want. It's like,
you actually on
well, I was gonna say
you could be our spokesperson.
Fortunately, CrossFit is still growing, and people are going to continue to rip their hands. So I think the natural grip will be there. But if CrossFit gets rid of pull-ups for some reason, you come join us on the road.
All right. Well, you know, I feel very passionate about it for sure. And I mean, it's made a difference for me. And I want to help spread that gospel. I guess, you know, I mean, I don't want to, it's not that it's a cult or anything, because it's not, but you know.
We drink some Kool-Aid every day.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully see you soon in Louisville. We're talking about the road trip, and
Yeah.
we're saying that's one of the, you know, that's our one of our destinations. We'll make some stops along the way, so it's going to be fun. And I want to see the plant and everything going on.
Yes, definitely. Louisville, Kentucky. Not only are we like this hot spot for CrossFit, there's like 20 boxes here, but I have all these people that want to ask you all these questions. So we'll definitely have to set up a seminar.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Anything else to ask Ashley? Anything about the grips or nutrition?
I love them.
Yeah,
I got my first chest to bar pull up with them last year, and my first bar muscle up last year.
In the open.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
So
Awesome.
hopefully
Yeah.
you're gonna get me my first ring muscle up this year.
I think so. And like I was saying earlier, I think she had her headphones in, but she's the one responsible for all those amazing pictures.
Oh yeah.
She's good with that. But like I said, we don't have a dining room table. We just have her. We have Roz's office and then her workspace over there. So it's going to be tough to live out of a car. We'll take that thing.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well, there'll be more nature photos then, I guess, maybe.
Exactly. The outdoors will be my studio.
Has anyone tested the natural grip on trees?
Ooh.
Right. See? There you go.
I don't know. How much bark's on that tree? We'll have to figure that out.
We'll
for
sand
sure.
it down a little bit.
We'll
sand
find
it
a
down.
smooth tree.
So obviously you're passionate about that, and you're almost done with your military career. Is that true, or wrapping up?
Yeah, I'll get out of the service this year. I guess August 14th will be the last day I wear a uniform, and then the Army will stop paying me at the first part of October. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's a good time to transition, good time to kind of close that book. I'm very thankful for the military and everything it's taught me. I really did. I thought I was going to be a lifer. You know, the goal was to be a lieutenant colonel. I'm a major now, but we had a daughter. Things change. You know, she's 6, and yeah, she's very connected to the 3 Musketeers that we are, and we don't plan on having any other children. So, you know, you make different decisions along the way, but I'm excited to kind of close that out and move forward with the natural grip and everything that comes our way from there. So.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's, you know, a much better lesson than teaching your child to be an entrepreneur and to work hard. And now we've taught her good nutrition as well. So,
oh my gosh, she talks about the macros. Funny story, which I'm sure that this is coming from a 6-year-old. Mommy, do you want some of my M&Ms? I was like, no, honey, I don't have the macros for it. Oh, it's okay. Just don't put it in your phone. You won't know. The phone won't know. I'm like, but honey, my body will know. Well, but you'll still have the numbers on your phone. You'll be fine. And I'm like, but my body will know, honey. Like, my body will know of the fat or the carb. And she's like, oh, okay.
I like her. That's my kind of girl. We're gonna get along just well. And I think whether you're 6, Roz is 32, and I think she subscribes to the same theory sometimes. So she threw some M&Ms out. You had something with M&Ms last night, and I don't know if they were in her app. But
the most painful thing I've done since I've started this was last Friday. It was my mother-in-law's birthday, and they were in town, and I had a Gigi's Cupcake, and that's like a chain cupcake place, and I logged it. It was 107 carbs. That was the worst I've ever blown my numbers, and I was like, oh my gosh, just this one cupcake with 107 carbs. But you know what? I'm not defined by that one cupcake. It's okay. That one cupcake's not going to bring the 20 pounds back on me. It's okay, you know? And then next morning I was like, not up at all, you know, not because now I'm not saying go eat cupcakes every day, but it was okay.
well, what that's telling me is you are bordering on the ability to reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Just and we can talk about that offline. But when someone tells me, hey, I had a day and I went over and my body weight went down or didn't move, I'm like, that's a good sign. So we'll definitely talk about that. And you know, and I think a bigger picture, like you said, is you're just creating a better relationship with food, because even if you're over a little bit, you know what you ate, and it probably kept you in check for what you were going to eat the rest of the day. That's what I tell people.
Right.
I need to track, because if I don't track, it becomes a free-for-all. Like, I just eat anything I want because I'm not keeping track of it. Where even if I'm on the road and not exactly sure what I'm eating, I'm better off putting something in there than not keeping track of anything.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about the pros and the cons, I mean, for once, nutritional labels matter because it gives it a context to matter. Before, it's like I look at a nutritional label, think about, you know, getting a handful of nuts or whatever, and I'm like, oh, well, that's healthy in its like, and maybe that's healthy in its one singular form. But we're talking about your body doesn't determine if you're fat, skinny, overweight, healthy based off of one thing at a time. It's the totality of all of that. And so before, if you look at the nutritional label and you're putting stuff into your shopping cart, and I've done this before, I didn't really know what to look at. I wasn't looking at just three things, carbs, fats, and proteins. I was just looking to determine if it looked healthy, if the packaging told me it was healthy or whatever. But then I get home, I make meals, and I think back of that now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those were horrific. I probably blew all of my carbs in one dinner, not because I was eating cupcakes, but just because of the totality of healthy food that I thought I had. Now, you have these buckets, these three things, and you're like, and I look at fats are near and dear to my heart. I only have 35 of them in a day. So I'm like, I'm not spending my fats on that. Like, I'm not committing my fats to that. Or I want to have 47 carbs on that cup of mac and cheese, you know? So it's like, it gives it boundaries, and it gives it a reason to make sense and for you to care about it. Because before, when you're not tracking it, what are we really supposed? Can someone tell me what we're supposed to be like gaining out of the nutritional labels if you're not putting them in some kind of context? That's all I'm saying. Like, because I'm sure everybody is thinking the same thing I'm thinking. Like, it didn't really matter before, but now it matters a lot. But why am I 32 and it just now matters? Why am I 32 and it just now matters? That's all I'm wondering. Like, that's all I'm wondering. Right?
I'm actually worried. I'm worried for my job because Ashley's going to take over, Roz.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just saying, like.
It's like when a small revolution starts, but then someone comes in, kills that leader, and then takes over. That's what's going to happen. She's military. Her hands are protected. I'm worried.
I'm going to take, like, my samurai sword off, and I'm going to, like.
She's already raising a 6-year-old, right, to do this, like the two of them. You got 3 generations now.
This is true.
You know, your mom, you, and your daughter's probably not tracking. Well, her tracking method might not be as. But
no, she told me she thinks it's funny because she's 6 and she just wants to get bigger, right? Every kid wants to be bigger, and so to her, I don't need to track my macros because I'm bulking up. You know, in her mind, like, she wants to get bigger, right? No, you know, so she says she doesn't have to track her macros. But
kind of off tangent on that. It's funny though, because regardless of your goal, whether it's to lose weight or gain weight or to sustain, eating the right amount of food is what's going to help you get there. And I would rather help someone lose weight than gain, not because I prefer it, because people that think they want to gain weight don't actually want to gain weight when it comes time to eating food. You know?
Right.
They're like, oh, I eat. I mean, we've all met that guy. No, I eat a lot. Like, I went out with my buddy. He wanted to gain weight, and he took half his burger home while I'm eating dessert. And I'm like, this is why. You know, you don't actually. So it's true.
Right.
You know, whether you're 6 and trying to get bigger or a male trying to put on size, eating the right amount of food and having an understanding of it is what's going to set you up for success.
Right. And having those parameters, even what those, okay, you say you want to gain, well, then eat to those levels. If you really want that, if you want that, then eat to those levels.
Exactly.
Whatever that is, I guess.
Yeah. And we'll get your husband, speaking, I was just thinking to men, but we'll get your husband, he's going to be reversing too. You guys are going to, that's when I think, the truth is, I tell people, hey, you can't eat anything you want, and you fit in a Gigi's cupcake, and we've had pizza and stuff like that. But it's challenging when you first start. It is. It's not easy. Your cupcake destroys your numbers. Where for me, that's a third of my carbs. I still have plenty left, and that's
Right.
When Roz and I started dating, she was at maybe 1,100 calories, and she would figure out how to have 1 donut, a half a donut, and look at me like I was an asshole eating 3 donuts, but. The fun comes from when you do this long enough and you start reversing. That's when you're like, I can have a cupcake and still be great today.
Right.
And we'll get you and your husband doing that. It's a whole new world when that happens.
Right. And I'm excited to get there, but you have to earn to get there. That's what I feel like. I've got to earn to get there.
Absolutely, you
I don't
do.
want to do that too fast. And then, because I do want this to be a permanent lifestyle change, because I don't have anything else. There's no one else I'm stalking on Instagram that's going to take your place, right? So I need this to work, and I want this to work, right? And I feel like it could be long term, right? And so I don't want to get that reward too quickly. But that's funny you say that about like, you can't have that cupcake or that pizza all the time, because the second week, my husband, he was fired up at me one day, and he was like, you say you can have whatever you want on this, but that's not really true, because and he just went off, and I was like, okay, well, I guess you didn't plan it properly. I don't know, I mean, I didn't really have anything to say to him about that, but, and so we've had that conversation. Is this a diet? And I guess that would determine what your definition of diet is.
Yeah.
I would argue it's not a diet, because I feel like a diet is more restrictive, but I think everybody has their own personal definition of what a diet is.
Absolutely. And true definition is probably just what you eat on any given day. So whether you mean to be or not, you're on a diet. And my answer is, sure, it's a diet, but what other diet allows you to lose weight while eating donuts? And like you've kind of said the entire time, it's harder than not doing anything, but you're asking me about this because you're not happy. So
right.
your option, like Ross says, is, how's that working for you? Well, you're unhappy, you're miserable, and you look like crap. So, so keep doing that, or join us for some donuts and get abs.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for you, because you probably have like 1,000 more people coming at you with that kind of stuff. I just have like my small circle of people that see me, and I live a pretty cocooned world or whatever. But I mean, it's everywhere I go, so I can only imagine what happens.
I'm lucky enough at this point that by the time people reach out, they've kind of bought in. They see it. Mm-hmm. We put enough information out there that they're like, all right, just tell me what to do. So you're right. Like the maven out there telling people about it, but they don't really, same thing for me with the natural grips. No, look at my hands. I have no rips.
Right.
If I use this, no, that can't work. Well, throw a pair on.
Right, that's true. And we get that. It really, I guess I never thought about it that way, but it is a lot like that. I mean, we started the company in 2013. I feel like I spent the whole first year just making it cool to not rip or tear your hands. And finally, I feel like we established that, because I was that person. I mean, I was that person when I started CrossFit. I took the picture of my first rip and I posted it, and I was like, look how hard I worked today. And then I wasn't in the gym for the next week because I couldn't even wash my hair because my hand hurt so bad or whatever. And then I realized, okay, enough is enough. I have to do something. And I solved that problem. And but the community still thought it was cool to rip or tear their hands, like this community, the primary market, they are still thinking paleo, they're still thinking zone, they're still thinking all of that stuff, and so it's like, but wait a minute, it's not cool to rip or tear your hands, or wait a minute, that's not that what you're doing eating wise, that's not long term, and so there is a lot of similarities. But now just now within the past year and a half or 2 years, someone posts a picture of a ripped hand, and the first thing that starts happening is they're tagging the natural grip. Mm-hmm. Hey, this isn't cool. You need to get the natural grip. And finally, like when I started seeing that, I was like, we've made it. Forget Shark Tank, forget all this other stuff that's happened. Like, we've made it. We're changing the culture. And so I'm sure there was that like light bulb moment for you, right? Like where you're like, okay, I'm changing the culture. Was there? I mean,
yeah. It's a great question. I mean, when I talk to someone like your mom, who's a little bit older, and she's like, I've researched you and you know what you're talking about, I think those kind of, phone calls remind me of it. It's like your head down and you're grinding on it, whether it's a product or a service, you lose sight of all that. But I think for both of us, because of social media, we're reminded of it when I get tagged in a picture, or, someone, sends us a text or an email. Roz and I get emails all the time of how we're changing their life. So it is really cool. And I do remember ripping my hands and taking pictures of it. And then you realize, what I tell people is like, you're injured. It might not be as bad as a broken bone, but you're not training for a couple, or you're squatting, and the hair washing is I'm gonna post a pic on I'll do it maybe on Thursday. My worst rip ever, and I'll tag that one bad rip. Did you see that picture? That was before I knew you. Well, when I knew you, but before we were together, it like half my hand is gone.
Oh my gosh! Please put a big red X over it though, like so they can see. Like, don't do that.
I'll post it because when I posted that before, people think it's fake, and it was like just doing muscle ups, came down, and I felt that entire piece just move on. I was like, oh my, it's an injury, and it's fun, and it's a what do they call it? Like a rite of passage, a badge of honor. But cool, get your first rip, and then get smart and get some rips.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brooke Ant, not last year, but the year before, I think she would have been higher on the leaderboard, possibly on the podium if she wouldn't have had her hands ripped as bad as she was, as they were. Now, she didn't tell me that, but just from me watching how the games played out that year, I'm like, you could tell every time someone's grabbing the barbell and they're in a workout that's supposed to be their jam, you can see physically it's hurting them. It's like if you just didn't have that rip, if you just didn't have what if what if you didn't have that or whatever. And
you watch regionals or the games now, they're going in protected. And watch Murph the last couple of years. I guarantee half the field is wearing natural. If not, I would say more than half the field is wearing natural grips. I remember watching, judging on there, and their hands are protected because they know this is day one, and if I get a rip now, it's gonna, rope climbs, more pull-ups later, barbell movements. They're all being smarter, and I think that's just like anything. We learn every day too when it comes to nutrition. We preach eating anything you want, and we've learned, hey, you should eat a little smarter at times. I know my body reacts okay when I have a couple vegetables every day, and but it's more fun to post pictures of donuts.
Right, for sure. But then you got to commit the carbs to the vegetables too. So, I mean, it's really just how you want to spend them, I guess, or whatever. But
well,
yeah, I mean, so
now that I'm excited. I will say, like, that's opened my eyes to eating more fruits and vegetables because I have that. When it was like I got 190 grams of carbs, I was like, Cinnamon Toast Crunch or nothing. But now I'm like, I can have a banana. I can have some broccoli. Roz gets mad at me if I don't have vegetables, so.
Yeah, it's that's the good future wife in her, right? Keeping you healthy, and one day y'all will have a kid or two, and you'll want them to eat their vegetables. And that's the thing. Sometimes I feel like, people have said that to me too. Like, well, so you're saying this stuff isn't healthy for you anymore? And I'm like, no, that's not even the conversation I'm having. I'm just saying, that's not the conversation. I don't want to get into that. I don't really feel the need to get into that. I'm just telling you these are my numbers, and I spend them this way.
Yeah, if Roz said something, was that today or last night when she said something about healthier? Yeah. What was that, yesterday? And I said, don't say that. It's not healthier. What she was implying was like whatever she was making was healthier than eating a donut. And I was like, well, that's, relative. It's maybe better quality. It might be more nutrient dense, but I wouldn't call it healthier.
Well, yeah, that's a good point because like the weightlifter guy, Jason, I was talking to you about, which I still want to get an answer to his predicament, but he was eating so clean. And he was like, actually, I can't eat this much food. And I'm like, well, you need to dirty it up. Here's a Snickers. I don't know. He's like, I can't eat this. I said, like, you can scan that. You can eat that Snickers. That's fine. I don't understand. But he was eating so clean. And then I found this picture of like your stomach full of vegetables versus your stomach full of meat. It was a vegetarian based kind of picture. But the point was, Jason, you're so full and you're eating all this food because all your plate is all this healthy stuff. If you could just come over to some mashed potatoes, come over to some rice or some pasta. But for so long, he's been told that's not healthy. That's not good for me. That's bad for me. I mean, we're changing a mindset of like, now I'm not doing this, but like you're doing this, like we're changing the macro people.
He's already taking over us.
No, the macro people that are out there doing this and like living this way, and people are watching us, like it's showing what we're trying to show people to do is so drastically different, you know what I mean, than what society has told them for so long.
All right, I have an idea, and I want to make sure it's on here because I don't want you to steal it. What if we make natural grips with donuts on them?
Oh, we could do that. That'd be good.
You have colors, right? But you don't have any designs, do you?
Yeah, we can custom stamp anything on there.
There we go. What about if we have the, That'll help.
Yeah.
That'll help Roz and I travel, and our goal is to promote this stuff for free. Put it out there. There we go.
Right. Right. Yeah, you had that logo you're working on too. So whenever that logo gets finalized, we can put that on there, and then
we'll put it right on the hand, and then as it rubs off, it's time to get a.
There you go. That's right. And then you're like, and we could put do it for the donuts.
I love it. Right on the hand. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, do it
Well,
for the
this
donuts.
was supposed to be 20 minutes, and it's been an hour.
Sorry.
New business ventures for Shark Tank. Maybe Damon John will invest in that one. We need to come up with something for Damon to hop on. Who is your favorite? I mean, obviously, did your deal with Robert Herjavec, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I would say my favorite shark is Robert. He's the sporty shark. We're very thankful to have him on the team. And he, we did close the deal with him. So he owns 25% of the company. All the sharks are really good, though. I don't know if it was because I was a veteran and they didn't want to come at me crazy, or legitimately I was just ready for their questions. I mean, you have a year to prepare to be on that show. So I don't really know how you get up there and not be prepared for them. But even Kevin was really nice and was like, hey, someone needs to give this girl $100,000 and let's move on, So I had a really good experience with all of it, and I definitely would do it again,
So I'm not going to ask too many questions about it, but when, everybody comes in with their pitch, do they tell you what to do, or do they make you write something a little bit cheesy? Do they make it end in a cheesy way?
No, they don't. So, I think that they're massaging you through the process. There's 5 rounds of cuts to be selected ultimately to be on the show. And when you get out there, you have to pitch in front of the producers. And there's people that actually get cut because they aren't good enough in front of the producers. And so they actually go home and they never go in to see the sharks. So during that pitch to the producers, they give you some final tips, and you go out and you do it with your assigned, helper or whatever until they say, okay, you're ready to go. And then you get slotted for a time slot and hope that they have time to see you, because they only film 2 times a year for 2 weeks each time. And they just stack and rack the pitches. And you just hope that you come up in the queue. So I never felt like they were trying to a gotcha moment or anything like that. But I was in it to win it. I went there with the right intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what everybody else does, but I know of 147,000 companies that applied my season, only 217 got the opportunity to go out there. And of those, only 117 ever aired, season 6 in my season. So when you start making those cuts, I don't know why you would go there and try to make yourself look stupid, but a lot can happen in editing too. I was in there for an hour and 37 minutes. You only see 6 to 8 minutes of it. So yeah, you never know. And the sharks are just people. They start at 6 a.m. and they're there till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm sure they're not as happy to the guy there at 11 o'clock that's pitching as they were at 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's a good point. So when, the day after, was it nuts? Did you have to really prepare yourself for that?
The day after.
The day after it aired.
Oh yeah. So that night we had a big party, kind of I wanted to thank everybody that had helped us got to that point. We had a big kind of internal party, and then I went straight from the party to process orders. I don't know, because I felt like I needed to work or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we did $10,000 the month before Shark Tank. The month of Shark Tank, we did 137,000 in sales, so it definitely takes you to another level. And now you feel like, well, I'm a Shark Tank company, so I can't this isn't good enough. I have to keep going. I have to keep this momentum up. And that's really where we focused on, utilizing the investment from Robert, growing the company, laying the foundation, doing what they wanted us to do with it, and then continuing the momentum. It's all about, having the momentum and leverage to continue to move forward. And yeah, I would say the next couple weeks were crazy. And then yeah, it's definitely been nonstop since then, but it was never like that. I mean, we are very thankful for all the marketing that we have with the Shark Tank connection. It's definitely something that our competitors don't have, and we don't take that lightly. We also worked really hard to get that too, so I'm not apologetic for it either.
Well, Robert looks great, but if he ever does need help on his macros, you send them right to me.
I know, he's such a little guy. So little. I wanted to try to introduce him to CrossFit, and I guess he's like, I run 5 miles a day and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he's doing all right. But last thing, because you kind of touched on something in that statement there, you know, just for everybody listening, military, wife, mother, running a very, very good business, you know, CrossFitting. How has flexible eating helped that? Is it just, you know, is it easier, harder than what you were doing in the past? I mean, I'm just saying you're so busy.
Right.
And that's an excuse people make. I'm too busy. I'm too this. I'm too that. So, you know, my last question to you is how has this helped your lifestyle?
Well, it's helped my lifestyle because, well, I feel better fueled, you know, for the day to take it on from start to finish. But I also just feel better about myself. You know, I mean, they say look good, play good, feel good. You know, that's the deal. So I feel better about myself. I'm not as self-conscious in certain situations as I was previously. I've never battled with being the fat kid, or I've never been at that level to that extreme, but still I've always wanted better. I've always wanted to be better. I don't feel like flexible eating is holding me back, making my life more complicated, taking time away from any of those things you just listed. I think it's just something I integrated in. I'm going to eat anyway, so let's just eat in these compartments. Let's just eat to these levels. And I'm doing that as consistently and closely as I can. And I don't, you know, you don't have to ask me the definition of consistent. I know the definition of consistent. So I'm doing that, and I'm seeing results, and I want everybody to see that. They just got to put whatever those mental blocks are to the side, and you're either going to do it or you're not. You know, you're either at that point where you're ready to do it or you're not. You know that. Whoever's listening to this right now, you know that. I can't tell you that. Jason can't tell you that. Like, nobody can tell you that. You're either ready to do it or you're not. And what the hell do you have to lose? That's the deal.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? You're going to gain more weight? You're going to do that anyway. You're going to do that anyway. If you don't do anything, you're going to do that anyway. So don't use time as an excuse. You got time to eat right now. You got time to eat. You eating. You're living. So let's just make sure you're eating in the right categories. That's all I'm saying. So don't be your own worst enemy, for sure.
I love it. Well, let's officially wrap up, because I have a feeling between the three of us, we're going to talk a lot about macros, and we'll do that in person next time.
Okay,
so
sounds good.
Let me let's give you guys a shout out. Where can people get a hold of the Natural Grip, and then where can they check out you if you want to put that out there?
Yeah, so follow us on our social media channels at The Natural Grip on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have our website, excuse me, thenaturalgrip.com. What code should they use, Jason, if they want to get a discount?
Ackerman.
They should.
And that's what for Roz Ori now, because, you know, she's going to be in Ackerman. So that was right. I was surprised when she put that out there, because it was, you know, it was weird to see. It was weird to see that, but hey. Get your mind
right. All right, you're about to be married.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely use that code if you want 15% off. You know, your hands are the most important tool that you have when it comes to working out, so keep them protected. Yeah, that's how you can get a hold of us, the company. For me, I'm kind of locked down on social media because a lot of crazies come at me. But don't worry about it. He'll post my transformation picture so far, but it's not the beginning and the end. I'm still in the process. So, and I'm cool with that. So just like your other girl that's ready to she was 1 year in. I'm excited to see where I'll be, you know, 1 year in, and what it will look like then. So
a lot of crazies come at me. You just happen to be one of them. So
that means a lot. Thank you.
So hey, one of them I got engaged to. So you never know. So it's been really great chatting with you. You're a lot of fun to have on here. I'm gonna post this link. I'm gonna put it up on the podcast, and I'll put I'll direct them to the Natural Grip and to use the code Ackerman. But thank you so much, and we'll probably do this again when you're. I like that. You know, when you're at 365, you know, another 204 days from now.
Right.
I have a feeling you will be at 120 eating substantially more food.
That sounds good to me. Yay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, and it was great chatting with you.
Awesome. Bye.